Harry Knight.
Marty, Harry Pace, words of dream.
Want 6 weeks free health insurance? Find out more at ahm.com.au/offer.
When Endgame came out, many hailed it as the most ambitious crossover in history, which led to many things. And although every year Marvel Comics puts out at least one major crossover event, there was of course a first. This is the Kree-Skrull War. And even though it's kind of done by today's standards, there is no doubt that it was one of the most significant events in all of comic history, inspiring many large-scale blockbusters like Secret Wars and DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths. Now, sure, Marvel had crossovers in the past, but they were small, like Spider-Man trying out the Fantastic Four. But the Kree-Skrull War was on a whole different level. Obviously, the Kree and the Skrulls were there, but this was the first time the two iconic alien races ever appeared in comics. And they were being fought by the current group of Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the entirety of the original Avengers team, who had all left to do their own thing, Captain Marvel, and the Inhumans. But like I said earlier, the book is also pretty damn dumb. We got evil cows, we got horny cavemen, we got gun phones, and that is just the tip of the iceberg. Hello and welcome to Comic Book, where I talk about comic books and my name is Drew. Let's talk. The Kree-Skrull War was told in the pages of Avengers number 89 through 97 in 1971. It was written by Roy Thomas and illustrated by Sal Buscema, John Buscema, and Neil Adams. The book starts out with this dude, Rick Jones. He's the kid that Bruce Banner pushed out of the way of the Gamma Bomb, which turned him into the Hulk. But Marvel has never really known what to do with him after. Rick Jones was always getting flung around from book to book, as Rick tried to do the same thing. Well, at this point in time, Rick had a Shazam kind of thing going on, where he could slang his bracelets together and swap places with Captain Mar-Vell, a former Kree soldier that was stuck in an alternate dimension. The body swaps only lasted for a few hours at a time, so Mar-Vell was desperate to get out of this negative zone. One day, the captain saw Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four hanging around the dimension, and then go through a portal that closed up behind him. Mar-Vell was like, there's been a door here this entire time, so he swaps places with Rick, goes into the Fantastic Four's lab, and opens up the portal to drag Rick out of the negative zone. The plan worked flawlessly. The only problem, though, is that a big evil bug dude followed him out. When Mar-Vell broke into the lab, though, the Avengers were alert to help out. They show up in the nick of time, with Vision doing that classic maneuver of phasing through the Bugman so that he would jump right back into the portal. So, price is averted, right? Well, yeah, but then suddenly a giant unrelated robot appeared out of nowhere, grabs Mar-Vell, and then vanishes. But before anyone had time to process that, the former Avengers Yellow Jacket Boss made a distress signal. See, they were out in the lab with the science ship with the government. But then a prehistoric ring of Earth popped up, and the government scientists got stuck in it. Hank and Janet got on a giant prehistoric dragonfly to go save them, but once they entered the circle, they started to feel woozy. Thinking that there was no other way to save them in time, Hank backhands his wife off the dragonfly so she would fall outside of the radius. This was a full 10 years before Hank slapped her again and left a permanent stain on his reputation. It's the same pose in everything. But anyway, it's revealed that all of this had been the work of the Kree bad guy, Ronan the Accuser. He had used that robot earlier to capture Mar-Vell, and he planned on taking back their homeworld. And while he's here on Earth, he might as well use a big de-evolution ray to wipe out all life on the planet by devolving them back to amoebas. Because this is why Hank was feeling so sick earlier. He's a caveman now and scoops up his wife to go yabba dabba doo. Ronan captured Vision and Scarlet Witch, who during all of this conflict used to develop feelings for each other, culminating in them trying to kiss while in captivity. Vision pulls back at the last minute, going, "No, I can't, I'm a robot and you're not human." And Ronan just sits there channeling his best Lord Farquaad impression and laughs at him. The conflict randomly ended when Ronan got a phone call from space in the middle of the fight, and the general tells him that the Skrulls are invading, prompting him to drop everything and return home to join the war. The Avengers say that's not their problem, so they shut down the de-evolution machine, return everything back to normal, and send the scientists to rescue, keep everything that happened a secret so that there wouldn't be a worldwide alien panic. Cut back to the Avengers mansion, and the team is hanging out and serving up looks. Bro, Vision is rocking the hell out of that turtle. What is drip, not swag, perseverance? But remember how the rescue scientists said they were going to keep quiet? Yeah, they went back on that the very second they got home. Enter Warren Kraft. He's the head of the newly formed Alien Activity Team. He has a list of aliens that are secretly hiding in America posing as model citizens, and it's his mission to bring them in, along with anyone who might be aiding. This is 100% a parallel to Senator Joe McCarthy, who ran the Un-American Activities Committee during the Cold War. Just swap out aliens and communists, but don't tell them about this space conference joke. They would probably blow it down.
The acquisition of drugs no longer the driving force. We work to better ourselves.
Desperate to smack a burger? Or maybe it's knocking off your to-do list. Get $0 delivery fees on your first order of course, whatever you take. $0 delivery fees on your first order. Smash it. DoorDash it.
In 1925, Ball arrived in Australia, helping a country get over. A partnership 100 years in the making.
McCarthy wants the Avengers to hand over Mar-Vell, but they refuse. Luckily, though, the captain's friend Carol Danvers showed up and was like, "Hey, I know a farm upstate. Let's go hide there." Shield was sent in to intervene. Nick Fury deliberately let Mar-Vell and Danvers get away. The whole secret alien panic reeks of the same sentiment that led to the Japanese-American internment case during World War II. Instead of going to the farm with Mar-Vell, the Avengers opted to bunker down in their mansion, but they were drawn out of hiding because the dude outside of their window was being harassed for being an alien sympathizer. Turns out, though, that this was simply a ruse, and these guys were just actors trying to serve up a lawsuit to Earth's Mightiest Heroes for harboring Mar-Vell. After a bad day in court, the Avengers return home, only to be greeted by veteran members Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, who express their deep disappointment in their colleagues and disband the team entirely. Absolutely heartbroken for having been kicked out of their home, the Avengers travel upstate to farm Carol Danvers and Delta. But then, they're gunned down by some cows. Because comics. This is actually a deep cut to the first time this role has ever appeared in comics. Fantastic Four number 2, all the way back in 1962, where the Fantastic Four encountered the Skrulls, the harassers, and the infiltrating aliens in the being cast. Apparently, a hyper beam shot out of space and snapped them out. The nuclear working council transformed the Fantastic Four and go to council. While Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are taken prisoner, Vision goes into a self-preservation, which autopilots him back to the mansion. Hank Pym is called in because he's basically Vision's grandpa. Don't worry about it, that's hell. But all you need to know is that Hank Pym goes in, shrinks down, and repairs Vision from the inside. Once he's back in tip-top shape, Vision sits up and is like, "Hey, thanks for fixing me, but also, what the fuck? Why did you guys pick us out?" Iron Man says, "No, we didn't. Oh my god, it was the council." Speaking of, the council captured Carol Danvers and Mar-Vell on screen. They managed to break free, and the captain decides to build an omni-wave projector. It's essentially a cell phone that allows for instant communication between galaxies. But only this is free. If any other species makes a call, it turns into a big gun. As soon as the code is complete, Mar-Vell instantly destroys it because Carol has been calling it Mar-Vell the entire time. But there's no way she would have known that it's her name. That's right. Carol is a Skrull too, but not just any Skrull, she is a Super Skrull. She entails warriors all the powers of the She takes out Mar-Vell and begins to the Maximum as tribute to the Skrull Emperor, in hopes that he'll be welcomed back in exile. The Emperor, though, is a huge dick, so he's also a massive misogynist, and is mad that his daughter is his only child. The princess, on the other hand, is super nice and trying to get her dad to stop the war, which is why she's tough and doesn't have that Dulce chin that every Skrull, including the women. Hola, mijo. ¿Puedes pedir un coche? Por favor? While all of this is going down, the other team defeated and captured the Calstros. And because the Avengers were deemed as traitors to America, they sent soldiers under the Android army to take them out. Tony Stark was able to defeat them because he's the one that invented them in the first place, but suddenly, one of the Inhumans shows up and explains that the Kree had been eating a coup that overthrew the Inhuman monarchy. They find out that Earth is so important to this war because it is the exact midway point between the Kree and Skrull culture. This is actually based on the real-world tactics in World War II, where islands in the Pacific were huge battlegrounds because of their strategic value of being closer to the end. The Avengers helped with Team Black Bolt be stated. Rick Jones, who had been here the entire time, got kidnapped by the Kree while on his way, and the team uses Thor's hammer to teleport to space so they can fight the Skrull, because apparently that's a power thing. Back to the prison. Mar-Vell agrees to make the gun phone for the Emperor, but upon its completion, he used it to make a hologram projection of himself, so it looked like that he was still building it in order to execute a sneak attack, because apparently that's a power thing. Cut to Rick Jones. We find out that during all the chaos and confusion during the war, Ronan overthrew the Kree government and shoved its previous ruler, the Canada Jar, into the closet, which they also throw Rick in. Jar activates a special power that apparently every human will develop thousands of years in the future, and Jones is able to create a bunch of mental constructs of Golden Age superheroes who go and take the Kree's ass. What's wild about this, outside of the Rick being able to, create people out of thin air, is that this was foreshadowed a few issues earlier when Jones talked about his love for Golden Age characters. However, included in this group are a bunch of heroes from old-school comic publishers that have since gone out of business. These things are all public domain at this point, but that is still super interesting. But Rick has more powers than that. He's able to freeze the entire Kree army in place, and also reveal that McCarthy was secretly a Skrull this entire time. So the anti-alien crowd that he had whipped up into a frenzy beat him to death. Crazy fun fact about this. In the original storyline with the Calstros, there were 4 aliens, but artist Jack Kirby made a mistake and only drew 3 cows in the final page. So in bringing them back to the Kree-Skrull War, Thomas decided to use this continuity error to his advantage and have the missing 4th alien be the McCarthy character. With the Rick X Machina complete, Jarhead is able to regain control of the Empire, so he calls off the war. And yeah, that's how the story ends. It is an extremely anticlimactic ending. For an event called the Kree-Skrull War, intergalactic warfare isn't really the focus. The storyline feels disjointed, which makes sense considering the boy comment that, quote,
Did I have some started out? I simply needed the Kree and the Skrull to be at war in far reaching space and let their conflict be threatening to spill, turning our planet into the cosmic equivalent of some sick guy named Earth.
You just want a low price. Guaranteed. So you can spend more time doing this.
Despite all of this, the book was the largest storyline in comic history, and it changed the game for good. With the industry seeing just how big their books could go, longer storylines began being implemented in comics, and eventually other big events like Secret Wars or Crisis on Infinite Earth followed in its footsteps. The story also used the plot for some multimedia adaptations, most notably the Captain Marvel. Of course, this storyline has been subject to plenty of retcons. Like, for instance, we were told that during the 5 minutes that Mar-Vell was doing that hologram trick, he had time to charm the princess and hook up with her, leading to the birth of Hulkling at the Young Avengers. And let's not forget that many of the most important figures of the superhero community came together to form the Illuminati to try and prevent anything like this from ever happening again. And apparently, they've been operating in the background of Marvel Comics for decades. During the aftermath, Tony Stark called the hero team in the previous story to the continent, in addition to the Black Panther, since he's, the leader of the damn thing. In order to prevent something as massive as the Kree-Skrull War from ever happening again, Stark used the idea of pooling the resources and handling attacks in a more organized manner by uniting every corner of the superhero community into a single organization. Everyone hated the idea. Who would run it? Who would they answer to? Would they just get tied up in bureaucracy and never get anything done? Those are all valid concerns. Though Mr. Fantastic piped up and commented that while a huge delegation was impractical, there was definitely potential in secret meetings just like this, where these pillars of the superhero community could come together to exchange information. And take matters into their own hands on some of the bigger issues. Oftentimes, before they could balloon into bigger problems. Although these get-togethers and what goes on inside of them would have to be a secret to everything. No teammates, no best friends, no family. And to ensure that nobody leaks information, the members would have to consent to Professor X scanning their minds. Black Panther was disgusting. Yes, they were leaders. Hell, almost half of them were literally leaders. But putting themselves above others and deciding how to handle global affairs in the shadows, he wanted no part of it. Everyone else, though, was on board. They officially became the Illuminati. Over the decades, this group worked behind the scenes of Marvel Universe, secretly pulling strings. One of their first moves was to teleport to the Skrulls' homeworld, flex their muscles, say, "What up, bitches? We're the Illuminati. Next time you want to mess with Earth, you gotta hit through water." This backfired horrendously. They were captured, tortured, and experimented. Thankfully, the Skrulls underestimated him at the start, thinking that he wasn't a threat without an arm. But thanks to some combat training from Captain America, Tony was able to take down the guards and rescue the others, allowing them to hijack the ship and escape, destroying a large portion of the Skrull fleet in the wake. Though this only increased the Skrull fleet for them again. But unbeknownst to the Illuminati, the experiments that were done on them yielded some very valuable data. See, the Empire used this data to create a new breed of superheroes that perfectly replicated the abilities of any Earthling that they had the DNA of, and they could even mix and match power levels. They also went one step further. For many years, the top Skrull scientists hungry Richards over and over and over again. This is brilliant minds with a revolutionary breakthrough that would make their shapeshifting fully detectable. I'm talking about being able to avoid being seen by technology, psychic scans, and even natural detection. The trade-off, though, they must fully have their memories wiped, replaced with those of the person they're swapping places with, unable to change back to their original form or to death. With these newly enhanced agents, the Skrulls begin kidnapping important figures on Earth, and in turn, they harvested their biological data in order to create even more agents. It's this vicious cycle of ethics. Around the same time, a deeply religious Skrull princess named Ranky begged the Emperor to read her holy text, which prophesied the destruction of the whole world, that in turn, they were meant to claim Earth as their new home. For the sake of her people, the princess begged the Emperor to make the proper preparations before it was too late. Though instead, the Emperor labeled the princess as a religious zealot and banished her off-world. Though, lo and behold, their homeworld was destroyed just as it was foretold. The remaining Skrulls brought Ranky on an exit, anointed her as their queen.
I have plans that I cannot share with you right now because the haters will sabotage me.